From the city of Jeddah, this is the second Formula One qualifying hour of 2023. We're under the floodlights of the Jeddah Corniche circuit, a venue purpose-built as a street circuit, and it is some challenge. The second fastest average speeds on the calendar, with the walls never more than a few meters away. It's a dance on the edge for the select 20 in the field as we select the grid at the second Grand Prix of the season, our second stop of the longest ever Formula One season of 23. Here's the circuit, 27 turns, the highest corner count of the year. Traditional 3 sectors available. There are also 3 DRS zones as well. Not much in the way of elevation, plenty for the driver to do, plenty that can go wrong across the 6 kilometers as well. Here are the tyres available to the drivers, the soft, medium, hard, the C4, the C3 and the C2. Last year, an indication for you, the soft tyre was not used in the race. It was not a favoured tyre in the field. But tonight, it's all about one lap pace, and the conditions are 26 degrees. It is dry, as you would expect in this part of the world. What a sight the Jeddah Corniche circuit is as we look down past the big wheel and the second and third sectors of the lap. In the commentary box, I'm Alex Jakes, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by former Formula One driver Jolyon Palmer.
Good to be here, ready for this hour of action, the fastest hour of action we get through a Grand Prix weekend, and on this circuit particularly, fastest street circuit in the world, barriers so close, we've seen so much drama in this qualifying hour in the past, and I'm fully expecting the same. Maybe the pole position should be a done deal. Red Bull have looked so hooked up, but behind that, it's really all to play for.
Yeah, incredibly close in third practice earlier on. It's not just Jolyon giving you the hard sell. It really was very, very tight as well. From Fernando Alonso downwards, the next drivers covered by half a second down to what would be the Q1 exit position. So you've got to deliver. You've got to remember as well, the track is smooth. That means multiple laps are possible. It's not just one lock-up and it's over. It's not that type of surface. You do have an ability to go again.
Okay, remember, you park behind Alex, you switch off the engine P1 and back to P2, please. P1 and back to P2.
P3 with Charles Leclerc in 6th place. You're looking into the garage of Lewis Hamilton. This is the venue where he took his last ever Formula One pole position. This is the day where he made his debut. 2007 Australian Grand Prix, got by Fernando Alonso at the first corner, and when he did so, basically changed motor racing history as those two and their careers went in different directions. And look who he cut to, as if by magic. The 2-time champion of the world, trying once again to give himself a chance of fighting for a podium. But let's not write anything off. There are no foregone conclusions in qualifying. Yes, Red Bull have the pace, but what do we see here in 2021? Max Verstappen had the pace that day, found himself in the wall at turn 27. You've got to go out there and deliver with the car at its lightest, with the track at its grippiest. It will be a thrilling spectacle.
That's what a street circuit's all about. The walls are only on the edge of the circuit. There's absolutely no room for error in many of these corners. There's super fast corners as well. So you never say never, but Red Bull were a second up the road in practice early on. I expect that gap will come down. Remember last time out, Charles Leclerc chased both Red Bulls all the way to their front row lockout. Verstappen's looked a little bit more hooked up so far this weekend. He's not looked out of sorts at all, apart from missing Thursday with a bit of a stomach bug.
Yes, Max Verstappen missing the media day and finding himself in slightly on the back foot, so far on the back foot that he's a second clear of the field. But that's the nature of things. As we get a green light at the end of the pit lane, qualifying, the first part of it where we'll lose the slowest 5 drivers is underway. At a circuit, it's worth pointing out that when you pull off the racing line, you've got to be really, really careful about impeding another driver.
Traffic.
Cars are travelling incredibly slowly down the pit exits.
Out on track. They've got 18 minutes to pop out, come in. The bottom 5 will then go out. And around this circuit, particularly turns 4 to turns 12 in the first sector, it's very wiggly, it's very fast as well, and you just get no eye line more than 1 or 2 seconds ahead. So we've seen many cars tripping over each other when one's on a fast lap and the one ahead is on a slow lap. Communication's got to be key between the drivers and the engineers.
Delighted to bring in to the commentary, man on site and primed, David Coulthard, 13-time Grand Prix winner, joining us for the first time this weekend. David, how are you?
I'm good, and I'm enjoying that Julian comment there, wiggly. We don't use that enough in commentary. He's absolutely right. This is one of the wiggliest sections, but, you know, Monte Carlo's wiggly, but it's not high speed. And high speed is full adrenaline, and it's a big, big challenge, this racetrack. So, you know, it's my pet peeve, isn't it? Slow cars on an out lap when you've got someone on a time lap. So I agree with Julian. These engineers have got to communicate with the drivers to avoid an incident.
And absolutely, on the evidence of practice, it's not quite there. So it's a situation that the engineers have to be on top of. Otherwise, you could well see grid penalties. We are driver's eye view with Alexander Albon heading down to turn 1.
And we've already spoken about Q3 being surely a Red Bull, this whole qualifying session surely being a Red Bull huge opportunity to have a front row lockout again with the pace they've shown. Conversely, I have no idea who's going to be going out in Q1. I've got no idea who's the slowest car this weekend. It's been so close between the rest of the field. Albon in the Williams has looked really good. Here he goes on a first flyer. Car's just looking alive. Big loaded curve coming out of turn 10. He's straight on it.
Hearing that Yuki Tsunoda has spun further back out of picture. This is the most, there we are, there is the driver. I think it's Nick de Vries has gone round, actually. Yeah, Nick de Vries has gone round, not Yuki Tsunoda. Car 21 not facing in the right direction. It already looks the most...
R3 in the middle of the guys arriving flat out behind.
Sargent, the rookie, really did a great job there. So this is an opportunity for them to exploit the straight line speed of that car. And yeah, early in this session, but as Julian was saying, he doesn't know who's going to go out. Well, you would maybe think that one of the Williams, but they're certainly hustling right now. His teammate Sargent is delivering purple sectors.
Yeah, so we need to box because
No, it's coming now.
the tires.
Watch your mirrors. Copy, box. Radio off.
in both sectors behind the American driver who had no form around this circuit in FIA Formula 2, never scored a point in the 5 races he contended here, and he retired from 2 of them, but he's 4/10 of a second ahead of his more experienced teammate. He's on board with Nick de Vries, spinning into turn 1.
Whoa, that is way too much engine braking as he hit the brakes there. It's like the handbrake was pulled on.
Yeah, just suddenly a massive rear lock. And that's a driver that missed all of this morning's practice. So he's coming pretty fresh today. There's him launching into a first flyer, and that just looked like the car was in the wrong settings. So much rear braking that as soon as he applied the pressure and then tried to take a downshift as well, it was just locking those rears solid and into a spin. So it's getting even harder for Nick de Vries.
Carlos Sainz is the driver in your picture. Ferrari slightly on the back foot from what they want.
So circuits are all clear. Just got Albon coming around completing his lap, so he's 8 behind.
Just changed my system setting. What should it be on?
Okay, we'll let you know.
Well, the 2 Ferraris haven't shown a lot of pace at all so far this weekend. All out on the soft tyres. Everyone that's taken to the track is on the softs. And Sargent's pace is not too shabby at all, quicker than Hulkenberg.
So menu system, position 8. Menu system, position 8.
That Williams fits him like a glove because we know how quick Albon is. Still early in this session, but that is impressive.
The fairy tale is about to end for Logan Sargent. He's had his time deleted for track limits, according to the information on the timing page. Just having a look. It says his time has been deleted, and now he does tumble down the order. So that was his moment in the sun that disappeared. Sainz goes over the line, and he is the slowest car of those to set a time.
I wonder if Sainz made a mistake somewhere in the first sector before we picked him up. Leclerc comes through and goes second behind Hulkenberg. Remember, Sargent was actually quicker than Hulkenberg by 1/10.5. Where do you do track limits on the final corner?
I know.
That's where he's been pinged for.
He's got, that is bizarre because you lose a hatful if you went deep and over all four wheels over the white line. Strange one.
Has he nibbled it? You can get onto the apex, but I don't think you can go all four over the apex.
Definitely not
curve
a car width on the apex at 27. We'll try and clear that one up for you. For the time being, one of the contenders for pole position, Sergio Perez, going through 22-23. We're on board with the Red Bull. He was second fastest earlier on, but look at that traffic he's got to pick his way through.
Yeah, they're all well behaved though, well all offline, which is exactly what you want as a driver. But this is always going to be the busiest session, isn't it? This should be fairly straightforward for Perez to make it through, but this is still a sighter, isn't it? To try and understand just where the track is, because Julian, as you well know, track evolution is always there right to the final lap in qualifying.
particularly on these street circuits, and when you're getting into the night as well. Hamilton picks up a slipstream from Nick de Vries over the line. Russell goes third, so still that pace from Hulkenberg looking good in the Haas. Perez is quicker, but it is going to be all about the second run and the final laps of this Q1 session.
There's the inevitable moment where Max Verstappen goes exactly half a second faster than his teammate. For reference point, last year, the average gap between the two of them was about 0.3 of a second. Not here, though. Perez taking his only career pole position at this circuit. Verstappen fastest in all three sectors of the lap as he peels off the racing line to make way for the McLaren. McLaren in 10th and 11th at the moment.
Couple of teams who really fancied themselves in this evening's session are Aston Martin. We saw last time out Fernando's heroics to get on the podium, and Alpine maybe have joined them in being upper front runners, punching towards the Mercedes and Ferrari teams. They're both late out. In fact, Alonso's only just left the garage now. Stroll is on an out lap. Both Astons chilling for the first 8 minutes of this qualifying session, but now they're on the track. And the two Alpines yet to pop in a flying lap, but they're both on flyers right now.
Telltale noise of the car just kissing the deck. Lando Norris continues his journey. He's already set the time. So improving on this second lap. We're seeing that the tyres hanging in there for the drivers in this racetrack. Obviously means that you've got the scope to carry a bit more fuel. Give the drivers an opportunity. Do they get blocked?
Whoa!
Then that final corner gets really, really tight to the apex.
A little bit tight and too tight. Norris very nearly getting pitched into the wall that Verstappen hit a couple of years ago. His teammate hasn't had that problem. Car 81. Oscar Piastri, one of 3 rookies in the field this year, up to 8th place ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Norris, looking like he had a one-way ticket to the barrier on the exit of that corner, but just jumped out of the throttle and couldn't get back on it, and he's come straight into the pit. So Norris aborting, that's going to leave him pretty vulnerable later on once the Aston Martins and the Alpines do put in.
I damaged the box.
That's the box now.
I hit the wall. Front left steering.
Right now, let's have another look at what happened to Lando. Down the gears for the final corner. And he does it. Yeah, he clonks the inside barrier there. What is
I
that?
damaged the box.
That's the box now.
I hit the wall. Front left steering.
What is that? You know, to maybe clip a barrier on the exit is one thing, but that is very unusual given the length of that corner.
He's just got greedy, didn't he, for apex. The closer you get to that apex wall, it opens up even more on the exit, so you can take a couple of millimeters on the apex and you get an inch or two in return on the exit. Then he just got greedy. You could place your car really to the apex as well. You're not forced out there with understeer. A spin for Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso on the podium, and round 1 finds himself heading in the wrong direction, but crucially out of the barriers. Esteban Ocon continuing. So Alonso's gathered it.
So for reference, this is going to be a very fast turnaround, Kev.
Copy.
Just trying to get the tyres warmed up.
I think it was the start of a flying lap for Fernando. It was the same actually as De Vries. Started a time lap, and I think he's just dropped it at turn 2 there.
In fairness, he's quite inexperienced, so give him a bit of time. We'll get on top of that. It's only the second race of the season.
Fernando Alonso, oldest driver in the field. Now, we believe Logan Sargent had his time deleted for going over that pink piece of tarmac. That's where we think he's had his time deleted. There's a team of people running around trying to work out why he's lost his time.
Well, you can't do it at turn 27.
No, so it's not actually 27. Improvement for Russell puts him in 4th. Hamilton is in 5th place. Gasly, who started at the very back of the opening Grand Prix of the year, only goes over the line in 18th position. Stroll puts Lando Norris on the brink. The 2 AlphaTauris are in the drop zone, along with Gasly, who went out in Q1 last race, Sargent, who hasn't got a time that counts, and Fernando Alonso, who did this, heading down, beginning his push.
So he's got it into turn 1, then we're at turn 2 now, and he's just trying to pick up some throttle, and he's got nothing from the rear tyres. So you've got to try and keep the rears quite cool to start the lap, make sure they stay in for the whole lap with the softs, and maybe he's just not got enough tyre temp there, and a bit of a strange one for Fernando. So he's going to push again. Here he goes. You know what? Carlos Sainz has now done a time that's put him 6th. That would still be slower than Logan Sargent's time. It would still...
Yes, with the car behind.
No one is pushing behind you.
Yeah, if you can tell me the gap behind next time before going into turn 5, just look the mirrors.
Copy, understood. So we believe next lap will be good for traffic.
For this lap, it's unlikely he's going to be able to get in and get another set of tyres. I think that was such a low speed spin, there should be no damage to them, but it just knocks your confidence a little bit, you know, your preparation. You get yourself all built up to quali and then something happens unexpected. So Fernando's got the experience to bounce back, and we know that Sargent has the car under him to get himself up into the next part of qualifying.
I'm sure he's got fuel for more than the one flying lap. Well, we know that because he's already onto a second one, having had the spin. And if you're going to do just the one run, he gets right up to the wall on the final corner like Norris did, but doesn't touch it. If you're going to give yourself just one run and you have a fast car like the Aston Martin, you want to make sure that you can pop in a lap time, and a yellow flag won't scupper you either. And he does jump up to 4th place, which drops Lando Norris out. And I'd be surprised if we see Norris get back into this session. It looked like he'd maybe done the steering arm with that touch of the wall in the final corner.
Yeah, he certainly claimed that, didn't he? He said damage to the steering. Well, we're going to go on board. Logan Sargent coming into the final corner. Manages to miss apex wall, exit wall.
Okay, your lap was deleted for track limit turn 27.
Douglas, keep an eye on the brakes. Bit of a split.
In the race director's notes given to all the drivers at the start of the weekend, it says any part of the tyre on the pink painted tarmac to the line and your lap will be deleted. So the tiniest of errors of car placement when his lap was already done, and it was one of the best of his career. Yellow flag sector 3. Why is that the case? That is why. And it's a spin for Logan Sargent, trying to make amends and facing the wrong.
Yeah, no grip.
Yeah, copy Lance. Similar first push to others, so just track is not quick overall. Track is not quick overall. So use the switches, and we'll go again. Tyres are going to come better. Next lap.
The order still should be right up with Hamilton and Sainz, but instead he's lost it there, and he's on the back foot now. One more flyer, but the confidence will be completely shot now.
Why don't stop there?
Copy. Offset 4.
As well, there's obviously an advantage, as you said, Julian, in trying to cut it as fine as possible. Stays well cleared of the pink.
Which he must do. And Stroll up to 10th position. Magnussen improves to 8th. And looking over the shoulders at the moment, Oscar Piastri, Alex Albon, Bottas and Sargent, who is ahead of his teammate but for that car placement error, and that is him losing the car over the apex of turn 23.
Oh, I'm surprised that you can do that and not find the wall on the exit there. It was the left-hander of 22 has been a bit of a challenge for all the drivers. It's been tightened this year. There's a raised curb on the exit, but Sargent had lost control of the car by the time he made the exit. Car's switched off immediately, and he's triggered an anti-stall.
This is Lando Norris's car down in the pit lane, 2 minutes to go, and they are still frantically working on it, but he's in the drop zone, along with Yuki Tsunoda, Nick de Vries, Pierre Gasly, and Sargent, who will be in his second qualifying hour, wondering what might have been.
Sargent, he's come back in the pits, and surely he's going to be in trouble. He's got to be leaving the pits sometime soon if he's going to have another set of tyres and another crack at this. We know he's got pace if he can get out there, but has he got time? A bit of fuel probably needs to go in that car as well. And then Norris is going to be gone.
Yeah, looks like his teammate Piastri, though, has done enough to enter the next part of qualifying. I'm confident.
Yeah, there was a double yellow that cleared very, very close to you coming through there. So Lance, big picture, currently P10, So let's prepare the tyres, prepare the brakes.
Okay.
One below will improve. So these two Alpines have got one flying lap, and they had the confidence to sit in the garage for the first 8 minutes of the session. Now they've got one flying lap to get through into Q2. Big pressure on both of them.
These two teammates, such an interesting narrative of this year. If you weren't with us in Bahrain, they were childhood friends who fell out, and they're now part of the same all-French lineup at the French team, and Ocon is not leaving. Much margin for error, David.
No, but thankfully, as you mentioned, did fall out, but the French kissed and made up, and they're very much now focused on taking this team forward. This is a big lap for them. I think a bit of overconfidence sitting there in the garage for long, you know, especially at the beginning of qualifying. There's so many cars out there, you never know if there's going to be debris on the track. Got to get a lap time.
Gasly's performance is evaporated here. We're being compared to his teammate, which is a time that's good enough for 15th at the moment. Norris is still in the pits. He's gone. We're inside 1 minute to go. The AlphaTauri's looking for some inspiration. This is a committed lap from Esteban Ocon. If he can maintain the pace here, he's going to get himself through. But Gasly in the first sector was on the back foot.
Gasly's in trouble. He's not improved in the middle sector either. Still fractionally up on Ocon, but Ocon's improving, and many others out there are going to find time as well, launching into their final flying lap. Albon goes 11th. Here comes Ocon. This has looked a good lap from Esteban Ocon.
So here we go. Ocon improving sector 1, sector 2, goes across the line and takes 7th place. So it's Bottas now on the brink. Norris has gone. Tsunoda, De Vries, and then the driver we're looking at now, Pierre Gasly, across the line. Where does he go? He goes up to 11th place. So that final sector was what he needed. The checkered flag is out, and it's Oscar Piastri hovering over the drop zone. Valtteri Bottas finds himself in there at the moment. Can he find an answer? We're on board with Stroll, currently in 12th position.
Yeah, Stroll's got to find some time. Another quick car in a dangerous position here. Lance Stroll in 12th. Albon's behind him and has completed a lap. Everyone else, other than Norris, is out there and going. Sargent did get back out, but don't think he's backed out of it in the first sector. So Sargent looks like he's in trouble. Stroll to the line.
Hulkenberg goes to 6th. Lance Stroll goes to 4th. Massive improvement at the end here, and it's Bottas. Norris, Tsunoda, De Vries, Sargent not out there once again. Zhou Guanyu will improve to 9th position.
Okay, checkered flag, press in button. Need to be minus on the delta time. That was a good lap. So we're safe, you're through, good job.
Time to demote Alex Albon, the two McLarens. You've got two Williams and De Vries down there. Nick De Vries comes across the line. Can he improve? He can, but only to 18th position. The Dutch driver is out in the first part of qualifying. And now, here is the rookie driver at turn 27, the Australian Oscar Piastri, the sole remaining McLaren who can get through after Lando Norris clobbered.
Okay, checkered. Okay, Sargent is stopped at turn 10. Watch for Sargent there. There's no yellow, but watch for Sargent there at turn 10.
De Vries, Lando Norris in one McLaren, Logan Sargent who had the pace but couldn't find the lap. And for the first time, Oscar Piastri is going to take part in the second stage of qualifying. It's his teammate who exits Q1. So that mistake, we were talking about it at the start of the weekend. You just clip a wall. It doesn't matter if you've had the pace. Suddenly, it's a Q1 exit for Lando Norris.
And it's not getting any better for McLaren with that car, at least. Piastri managed to do a decent lap at the end. The times are so close, as they were in Bahrain Q1, that from Albon all the way through to sort of Hulkenberg up in 7th, that's just half a second. And that's from 17th to 7th. Small margins. Piastri hooking up the lap when it mattered, and as it is, you're kind of not really surprised at those down there and out. We know Norris probably should have been into Q2 as well.
Missed of the last corner.
Across the field. So if you consider that Norris didn't do another lap time, Sargent didn't get a representative time on the board, Perez in second, down to De Vries in 18th, separated by 1 second.
And you know what the kicker is? Sargent's lap time that he did, the first lap of that session, would have had him through into Q2.
Missed of the last corner.
De Vries needed 3/10 to get through, so he could bemoan the final corner, but I don't think it was quite there. And even when he got to that final corner, it would have been close, like his teammate was, just 100th short of going through. But yeah, Sargent, what a stinker! He's done the lap, he's done 27 corners really well, and then he's just driven basically off the road into a track limits penalty when you could just put the car exactly where you want it. And he should have been through. He should have out-qualified Alex Albon here. Should have got the Williams into Q2.
And Archie, would you like to stick to our default plan for Q2? Question.
Yes.
Copy. Do you have a preference of which set?
This one.
Copy.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's broke.
It seemed a little bit desperate, really, from him. I don't know if
He clipped the wall there.
Yeah.
It was a bit desperate, like you say, Julian.
He's already lost it going into the corner. He's cut across the curb. He's bouncing. The lap's gone. And I think just frustration from him.
Okay, and for reference, Joe got to P9 in a 29.6. Times are very tight.
Who would have been one of the standout stars of this Q1?
It's a fine line between greatness and bitter disappointment in this case.
Absolutely. I think what will frustrate him, if you're thinking at home, well, he only put one wheel over the painted area. They were told no tyre contact beyond the white line of that Qatar Airways painted sponsorship you can see down there before the pit divide.
And what makes it more ridiculous is that it's on a straight. You can't get pinned for track limits on a straight. There's no excuse for that. If it's on a corner, you're gaining some little bit of time by you know, hanging the car out to the edge of grip and a little bit over, and occasionally these things happen and you can't account for a bit of oversteer, a bit of understeer that forces you wide. He's just driven off on the straight, and only by a tiny little bit, but he's done it for pretty much nothing gained.
Nothing gained, easy done. Can vary year to year, might not have been the rule when he was competing here in Formula 2 last year. So disappointment for him. Disappointment as well for Lando Norris. That mistake to career into the inside wall at turn 27 means that's only his second Q1 elimination in his entire Formula 1 career.
It's a pretty poor mistake from Lando as well. He won't be happy to see that one back, just snagging that apex wall of the final corner. Getting greedy with it, and it's cost him a chance to get through.
I wonder if there's anything Piastri being right with him pre-practice, whether he realised, you know, this is getting tight with my rookie teammate. I'm going to take every risk possible, because you know, Julian, it is different when your teammate is right there with you versus when you've got a bit of a comfort zone.
And Lando's got to assert himself again. With Daniel Ricciardo last year, he was quite comfortable. He was ahead of Daniel. Daniel just didn't gel with the McLaren for whatever reason. And Lando had a good few tenths in his pocket over Ricciardo.
It's still 45 seconds, Nico. 45 seconds. So we'll just queue here.
Of anyone out there. And this weekend, as you said, DC, he's been right there with him all the way through practice. So that does add the pressure on the supposed lead driver.
And a strange phenomenon for Lando, because in the last 14 races, he had always out-qualified his teammate, no matter which Australian it was in the other side of the garage. So an unusual situation for him and Piastri at a track he knows well from Formula 2, at a track where he's won in Formula 2, is the sole remaining McLaren in the session. And McLaren's season curtailed by changing concepts late, their major upgrade, their season effectively beginning in Baku. Everything that can be achieved before then, simply a bonus for the Woke-based team. So overall, we lost Tsunoda, Albon, De Vries, Norris and Logan Sargent. Plenty plenty of pace out there from the American rookie driver in the second Formula 1 qualifying session, but not the whole lap, so frustration for him. Norris with an uncharacteristic error. He's been one of the stars of qualifying in the last couple of seasons. And then De Vries trying to get to grips with the AlphaTauri, having lost all of FP3 due to a power unit change, and that spin at the start of the session. Green light at the end of the pit lane. We are underway for Q2, and we're already fighting for track position. What a complete change for Aston Martin's run plan. They're not waiting now. They're straight out at the start of this session.
They saved a set of tyres in that first part and got both cars through, as did Alpine. So those two midfielders, I mean, are they midfielders? Aston Martin, I shouldn't call them midfielders anymore. Could be second best car, and they've saved a set of tyres like we often see the pole favourites going to do. Red Bull, Verstappen stayed in the garage just like a one flying lap there. Aston Martin saving a set for later on.
So as they work their way through the DRS zone, this is all prep. Fernando Alonso treating it like the opening lap of the Grand Prix. Doesn't want to be behind the Haas when he's setting his lap time.
Yeah, it's confidence, isn't it? If he slows it down now, he's got track position. I'm not a big fan of that in-helmet camera shot because it just doesn't reflect what we see.
Tell us the reality, DC.
Yeah, it's a lot clearer. It looks all kind of yellow.
It's tricky under the lights. You get the reflection off the lights. That
The advice from previous outlap was more full throttle in the second part of the lap to get them ready for the first lap. If you need.
The reality of the vision we had, I definitely would have added several more crashes to my crash career.
that was my vision. Maybe that explains what went wrong a couple of times.
I'm saying nothing at all. Fernando Alonso is on the ragged edge, and he's fighting his way through on the soft tyre, going earlier in this session with a set of tyres in the bank. The driver who was very impressive with the race pace, but this was a different circuit. The theory was that the smoother surface might put Aston Martin back, but we did see Charles Leclerc take a step forward and Ferrari to get up into the mix as well. But Alonso at this junction of his career, where so many moves to so many teams was poorly timed, he now has a car to fight at the front, and it is wonderfully spectacular to watch trackside. Wonderful sound of the engine, the Mercedes engine. Will they be the lead Mercedes-powered team at the end of this session? Alonso going quickly out there, his teammates out on the racetrack as well, comparatively. There's Bottas, then Joe. Alonso on to beat the Alphas. On the evidence of the weekend so far, you would expect that. He does so. Stroll is on course to be slightly behind his teammate. He was out-qualified by his teammate last year. Sebastian Vettel then. It's Fernando Alonso now. And it's an Aston Martin 1-2. Alonso and Stroll. This will be telling if we go on board with Carlos Sainz, one-time Grand Prix winner, the British Grand Prix last year. Alonso very, very quick. He's the fastest driver in the first two sectors from what we've seen. Verstappen, his effort fastest of anyone in the final part of the lap. Sainz has come to the last stage of the lap. Avoid the painted area on the left-hand side. Nicely judged, Carlos Sainz. Where does it put him? It puts him behind Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, and Piastri. Charles Leclerc faring slightly better, splitting the Aston Martins to go P2.
Yeah, that was a very average lap from Carlos Sainz. We didn't see any obvious.
Okay, let's go to break 5, please, and please keep pace up on this slow lap. It'll buy us a bit more time later. First lap puts us in P3 so far, so very good job.
It's not working for Sainz with this balance at the moment around the circuit.
He lost a lot in the first sector. The first sector is the most complicated sector for the drivers. Takes you through from into turn 1, braking zone, and again at turn 4, and just blending through the throttle at turns 8 and turn 10. And Sainz lost a fair chunk there. The tyres, his first lap.
Oh, big moment.
Yeah, he's backed out of it. Lit up the rear, too much acceleration for the amount of grip that was available, so he's aborted that one.
It's good to see he's still leaning on it. He's been so quick throughout this weekend, you wonder how much he's still holding back, but even the best out there, the man that was quickest so far in Q1 on one flying lap, quickest through the practice sessions, he's even finding himself running out of grip as well on the rears.
Well, you know, the reality is, of course, it's easy.
I have a problem. Engine problem.
That it's easy because it's quick. Well, it's taking more out of the tires than any other car. It's closer to the limit of the adhesion that's possible. And, you know, in my experience, having been lucky enough to drive for dominant cars, it's more difficult to drive than a car with less power.
What's the problem for Verstappen?
I have a problem. Engine problem.
Well, this is...
Okay, press in button, car close behind, starting a push. Okay, we need to push on the in lap for time. We still have plenty of time to either do a fast, slow, fast, or a prep push, or a single push. What do you think?
Either fast or just one fast.
Remind you what we said at the top of the broadcast, there are no foregone conclusions in Formula One.
Wow. So I don't know if he had any drive at all, but he was in third gear, just tickling the throttle, and the revs were spiking up. It didn't sound like he had a lot of drive.
Well, look, it might just be coincidence. Sorry, Julian, it might just be coincidence, but apparently a Honda crate's just been pushed into the back of the Red Bull garage. I don't even think this team could change an engine that quick, but just go on board and listen.
Unbelievable. Max clutch slipping at first.
Like he's just lost drive, hasn't he? It's just accelerating, and then suddenly you hear a load of revs and no drive from the Red Bull.
It's almost not accelerating.
Okay, understood, Max. Well, we'll do what we can. We're happy for you to try and limp home if possible.
Q3 and then have to do some work, but he had the big oversteer the lap before, backed out of it, was going again. It just sounded like he lost drive.
It's almost not accelerating.
Okay, understood, Max. Well, we'll do what we can. We're happy for you to try and limp home if possible.
Giampiero Lambiase does not sound optimistic. You're looking at the sole Red Bull that can attack at this stage. Sergio Perez on pole here last year. Might he be on pole again? Max Verstappen, the dominant driver of the weekend so far, hit with a problem on the day that another Honda power unit with Nick de Vries and AlphaTauri had to be replaced earlier today.
Yeah, good news, he's made it back to the pits, but will that be the only good news? Can they sort that issue? But I agree with Julian, it sounded like momentarily as if he lost drive, almost like the clutch was slipping.
Perez has gone over the line, P2. Someone's had their lap time deleted. It's Hulkenberg who tumbles down.
We need to save the fuel to push again.
Oh, shit.
Sixth place right now, fifth place even, right with Esteban Ocon. But Hulkenberg leaves himself under pressure. I don't know if it is necessarily a power unit issue. It didn't seem like that from Verstappen.
No, I also looked at Paul Monaghan, the senior engineer there, got up and walked away from the car with a sort of knowing look. So could that well be some hydraulic oil, dry shaft oil perhaps?
So we should be clear. Keep your eyes open, please.
Spectacular Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. In 2021, it was extraordinary. It was a battle between Hamilton and Verstappen. Last year, Leclerc and Verstappen wheel to wheel all the way to the final corner on the last lap. And now, in a dramatic twist that no one saw coming, the dominant car of the weekend cannot complete qualifying, and Max Verstappen will have to fight through from 15th at best.
Wow, well that opens the window then. Opens the window for someone else to try and jump onto the front row, which no one would have thought was possible with two healthy Red Bulls in the fight. Perez is actually just behind Alonso at the moment after the first run to Q2, but surely has more in the tank to lead the Red Bull charge now for the rest of this qualifying hour. But no Verstappen, and he's got a long way to come back from as well.
Well, one of the easier street circuits, if we can call it that, in terms of being able to come back from a bad qualifying, but this is now the moment where Perez needs to step up and be the lead.
Checo an early heads up, flap angle. We'll go again on this scrub set.
Loses the rear end, has to back out of it.
It's so high speed coming through turn 10, and when the rear's going, even before you touch that exit curve, you can see the driver's getting a little bit restless in the cockpit, and Carlos is bailing out of that one. Didn't fancy committing to it. where Mick Schumacher crashed about this time last year as well.
Absolutely. There's Tech Pro at that barrier after Mick Schumacher caused an hour's delay in qualifying last year after dropping it off the curb into a concrete wall. It's now Tech Pro. And this is now, against all expectations, a wide open qualifying session. What did we see earlier on? Hardly any gap between those in 11th and those in 3rd. So suddenly this becomes a day where you can be a hero.
And Perez isn't looking 100% hooked up either. He's sandwiched between Alonso and Leclerc. Should remind everyone, Leclerc has a 10th place grid penalty for tomorrow as well.
Very good.
So we've not only got a Red Bull fighting through, but we're going to have a Ferrari fighting through as well. Sainz is not in the top 10. He's got one flying lap to do, and he needs to put in a decent lap time because he's done one that wasn't quick. He's tried to go again and had the big wobble at 10. So Sainz might leave it. No Ferraris in the top 10 unless he can improve.
That would be a shocker. And if there was already, after one race, pressure in Fred Vasseur, imagine that. No Ferrari in the top 10.
Well, there was a little bit of unrest after Bahrain in the Italian media. There will be consternation if there's no Ferrari in the top 10 after round 2. And it's rather dark on board. The lights might have gone out down the main straight. We've already had enough drama in Q2. That's not the case. It's just the lens of the camera. George Russell, currently 7th, needs an improvement. Can he find it? He can. He goes ahead of Stroll, who beat him in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Goes ahead of his teammate as well. And Russell takes a step forward when required. Fernando Alonso is the fastest driver at the moment. He hasn't taken a pole position in a decade.
Had a massive snapping turn too, guys.
Copy, Joe.
Got what was that word? Consternation.
There we are.
Thank you, Alex.
You are welcome, DC. There's always a word that DC loves mid-broadcast. It is excellent to be with you for this game-changing session. You watch all the way through the weekend. Practice sessions are not qualifying sessions. You've got to deliver under the floodlights. One of the most reliable drivers in recent years over one lap, Lando Norris, hit the wall at turn 27. The only thing that was going to stop Max Verstappen taking pole today has stopped Max Verstappen taking pole today. A mechanical failure and no improvement out there. We're looking on at Carlos Sainz's manager, also called Carlos, also wearing a worried expression. 2-minute warning. What about Fred Vasseur? Not sure he's loving that cutaway chosen by our director, but he is a man under pressure. Ferrari, start of the day, expects to be closer to Red Bull in terms of pace. They did not expect to be in the mix to go out of Q2. It's currently...
Checkered flag is in 2 minutes. All these guys slow laps. If you want to push up through them, that's fine.
Farther part in the session.
When you're sitting on the pit wall and you suddenly get a close-up of yourself on the screen, you know things are either going very well or they're going very badly. And for Fred, it's badly at the moment. Well, in fact, Leclerc is through and he's stayed in the pits for now, but we know he's got a 10th place grid penalty for tomorrow. The car that he really cares about today is this one. Carlos Sainz, ambling round on a prep lap. He's done an out lap. Now he's just doing a prep lap to condition those tyres, make sure they're in optimal state to attack when he exits this next corner, and he has to pump in a lap time, or there will be no Ferrari in the top 10 on the grid tomorrow.
This is pressure. You don't get bigger pressure than that. You've got one lap to deliver.
Sainz has found himself at the front of the field in qualifying plenty of times, most recently 3 times in his career, but most recently in Austin when he beat his teammate and the Red Bulls to the front of the field. Now this is just all about getting through into the next stage of qualifying. Oscar Piastri looking for his first ever Formula 1 Q3 appearance. The driver who's taken pole positions trying to take it away from him. He needs, this is the sector where it's looked unspectacular from Sainz all the way through, and he's already chasing the car, Jolien.
Yeah, fighting it as he turned in there to turn 6. He's up on Piastri. That's the McLaren driver who's currently done a great job to be in the top 10. And he's up on him by a fair chunk in the first sector. Now just a couple of corners in each of sector 2 and sector 3. The hardest job has been done then from Sainz. Kept it on the right line through 4 to 12, even if he was fighting the rear.
Got to take that step forward. Piastri has improved to 7th. Joe has improved to 8th. Bottas does improve his time, not his position. He's out. His effort is complete. He's eliminated in the second part of qualifying. Who's going to go as well? Look at the margin, 300ths of a second at the moment. Sainz is on his best lap of the weekend. It appears he needs it. He's the driver under pressure down into 13th as he approaches the 27th corner, Dave.
Yeah, it's enough though. If he can get the final corner nice and tidy, then this will take him through.
Again, it's several box.
So you guys can improve.
Needed it, and that's impressive stuff. Pierre Gasly finding himself not where he expected to be. It's been competitive all the way through. Magnussen improves his time, but not his position. It's Joe, Magnussen, Bottas, and Gasly. What can he do? Perez is going to go over the line. Does he beat Alonso's time? He does to top the session. But where is Pierre Gasly? That's our last unanswered question in an extraordinary Q2, and the Frenchman does find a way through. He beats Hulkenberg's time by 400ths of a second. Joe out by a mammoth 500ths of a second, and Kevin Magnussen only a 10th to drift, but he's in 13th. We promised you a tight Q2, and it has delivered once again. Gasly will be satisfied to find a way through. The driver who went out in Q1 in Bahrain makes Q3 for Alpine in Jeddah. The 5 drivers to go: Hulkenberg, Joe, Magnussen, Bottas, and our championship leader, Max Verstappen.
Well, that's the headline grabber from Q2. Verstappen out with whatever issue he did. He didn't manage to get back out there. The standout for me is Oscar Piastri, getting the McLaren all the way through in 9th place. Even if Verstappen was in there, Piastri was going to be through. So that's a reprieve for McLaren after the dismal Bahrain. Norris hitting the wall. Piastri's made it all the way through to the top 10. That'll give him a huge amount of confidence.
Yeah, it's a great performance by him, but let's put it in perspective. You know, do we really expect McLaren to be under pressure from like a Haas and, you know, great respect to a team like that that just don't have the history and resource?
Yeah, McLaren looking for a new wind tunnel. That's coming online in June. That is what the team are hoping can turn their fortunes around. Back to the sort of performance when David was regularly winning Grand Prix for.
But also, I mean, you look at Piastri to Hamilton, there's only 4 thousandths between those two. So if you think Haas are nudging McLaren all the way, they're nudging Alpine all the way, well, they're nudging Mercedes as well. Yeah. Hamilton's not far from going out in that one. Less than a 10th of a second of safety from the Mercedes in 8th.
Yeah. Formula 1 this year is closer than Formula 3, Formula 2, and they're all one-make formulas. It's incredible.
You're absolutely right. It is remarkably close by Formula 1 standards. If you discount the Red Bull, we didn't think we were going to be able to. Sergio Perez topping the times by a 10th, goes in as the representative to Q3. This is the only circuit that Perez has ever taken pole position in his career.
Yeah, sorry for the unnecessary stress.
No worries. Let's focus on Q3. No worries. Let's focus on Q3.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
He's a nice guy, Carlos.
Operator.
He is, absolutely. Would you have been apologising on the radio?
No. But I'm focusing on the next. Yeah, exactly. It's so much going on when you're trying to put together a lap and you know it's the final one to get yourself through in the position that you should be. He's obviously caught his breath and it's panic over for Sainz now. It's just about can he get himself on the front row. Remember, Leclerc takes a 10th-place grid penalty. Alonso is looking quick. Perez is surely the man to beat in the other Red Bull. He's going to be a Jeddah master, isn't he? If he takes pole position again.
Oh dear, oh dear. We are seeing spectacular sights, some great driving, drivers wide-eyed at multiple corners at the 27th.
Afraid we missed the cut. I understand your frustration, mate, but you did an absolutely fabulous job with what you had there.
Thanks, mate.
Of course, one from 14th on the grid last year in Belgium. Might have another attempt to go from 15th to 1st. Oscar Piastri looking on as well. They might have to change things, might drop him down further. But, we are well poised for Q3.
Magnussen has a lap time deleted that we've just been notified about, so he might tumble down from 13th. That'll only be behind Bottas though, because Verstappen had nothing on the board at all. You still wouldn't bet against Max coming through and winning it from 15th with the pace advantage he's had this weekend. You know, his time from practice earlier still hasn't been matched by anyone else. And we're coming into Q3. He's still 2/10 up the road from what he did in the daylight in practice earlier. Track's getting better. Everyone's now turning up the wick, using everything they've got, and they've not beaten his free practice time.
So, Fernando Alonso in the front row.
Joe, we are currently P11, mode end. Currently P11.
How far we off?
So finally P12. Just half a tenth missing to top 10. Solid qualifying, Joe. Good job.
I give it all, guys. Good comeback after a difficult weekend.
Gone over it already, and an opportunity lost for a monogas driver as we stare at Sergio Perez. One pole position. Can he change the stat in his column? And if he can, it's what Red Bull required. But Fernando Alonso chasing his first pole position since Germany in 2012.
And you know what? I think the pressure's just wrapped up for Perez now. It's now an open goal for Checo, whereas before, everyone expects Verstappen to beat him to pole position. And if he does it, if Perez can do it, then bonus. But if he's on the front row or he's third, then he's in contention, as he was in Bahrain. That's job done. That's all Red Bull want from him. Now they demand pole position, and he's being chased.
I think in fairness to Julian, open goal with Fernando Alonso just kind of there on the goal line. So, yeah, I agree with you. This is pressure, and it's different pressure when Red Bull expect him to step up. And he knows Alonso, if he can sniff it. And I thought it was quite telling when we saw the graphic there, just where Alonso was quick on the lap. A lot of it was in the squiggly stuff. You know, that is, they may be carrying a bit more downforce, but that car is definitely working.
It's been the case throughout the weekend. They've just been missing on the straights compared to the Red Bulls, but through the corners, especially the first sector, very, very strong, the Aston Martin. Alonso has the fastest first and second sector so far. Perez took it in the final sector where you need just the straight line speed, really.
Looking at debris coming off Max Verstappen's car.
Yeah, could that be something from the drive shaft?
Well, that's the curve that he ran, but he didn't run it any harder than anyone else. And there was no major sparking from the floor.
No, but you know, any little debris. What's you know, the gearbox is so enclosed, so the actual boots around the drive shaft could have been what led to that loss of drive.
Well, the championship leader, Max Verstappen, would have been expecting to exit the pit lane in Q3 and put the cap on what has been an extraordinary, strong performance over one lap, but unable to do so. So who steps up to fill pole position? Could it be this man, Fernando Alonso, looking for his first pole since Germany in 2012? That was a wet session when he was a championship contender with Ferrari. He's got plenty cheering him on as well. Can Sergio Perez take his second career pole position and his first since here last year, when he managed in a straight fight to beat the Ferraris and his teammate? Or will it be first on the timing page for Charles Leclerc before he takes that 10th place penalty, which could put him in the same mix as Max Verstappen on the grid? We'll see. They'll be in roughly the same real estate, potentially other power units, or they might take more penalties and increase the allocation, so on and so forth. But for the time being, we're focusing on what's on the racetrack. What's on the racetrack has been unexpectedly much, much closer. George Russell leading.
What can Mercedes do? A couple of tenths away from Ferrari in Q2 with Mercedes. They're ahead now of Alpine, which threatened to be a bit of a surprise after practice. And both Alpines are still here, still getting themselves into Q3. Fancy a chance. So do the Aston Martin. Alonso saved a set of tyres earlier on, so he's going to have 2 cracks at this.
Nice clean track ahead of him. Gasly's down at turn 1. Use all of his experience to extract. Could be, no, should be. Oh, little correction.
Okay, single time lap. So have a good go on this one. Just push when you're ready.
We're on board and he cranks his way through, chasing it slightly in the opening sector.
Doesn't look glued through the first sector. He's just having to be slightly tentative at the wheel. Fernando through turn 10, 11. That's the curve that Verstappen potentially had something go wrong on, and Alonso comes through with a pretty quick first sector. So it looked like it was on the edge of rear stability, and again it does, coming through 13.
Yeah, that length of turn 13, it looked like he was high on the steering angle, so it's almost like an understeer mid-corner that then leads to the inevitable switch round to oversteer as he opens the power. So it remains to be seen how good this lap is going to be in its completion.
Alonso, fastest of those out there at the moment. Leclerc setting a lap, Sainz setting a lap, so is Ocon, so is Gasly. We have Perez and Russell on outlaps. This is going to be an effort that if he gets it all right into the 27th and final corner on the racetrack. But we've said that before, and we've seen one.
Okay, Checker, we've bought ourselves a bit of time. Just focus on your tyre, Pat.
And Fernando Alonso was not far away from joining it. Across the line he goes, fastest of anyone out there so far. The time to beat, a 1:28.9.
That's not his best lap. He went quicker earlier on, and it was just scrappy on the rear end from the first corner to the last. Thought he was going to dip the rear right into that wall there as Leclerc flashes past it, or Sainz even. Sainz to the line has not had a good lap. Don't think he's going to mix it with Alonso. No, he doesn't. Goes third. Leclerc.
Okay, everyone's in phase with you. You can go to Delta. We obviously saw what happened there in turn 1.
But he's top of the time page at the moment. Can Mercedes get in the mix? Not according to the timing page that we have at the moment. Can they put the pressure on Alonso?
But that is an identical lap time to what Fernando did in Q2, to the 1,000. So Alonso has more in there. He just looked like he was fighting the rear a little bit too much on that lap. Both Mercedes out there. Perez winding up a lap now as well.
Yeah, Hamilton already down on his teammate, 3/10 in that first sector. So Russell looking more comfortable than the Mercedes drivers as Checo Perez has just opened his lap.
So across the line goes Lewis Hamilton to go ahead of Esteban Ocon and slots into third position for Mercedes. Can George Russell get ahead of his teammate? Not only that, he can get ahead of Fernando Alonso as well. George Russell occupying the front row at the moment. We do still have Perez and Stroll to run. We're on board with the favourite for pole position.
Still struggling turn 1, 2, but was better.
Yeah, copy. So that brought a bit of stability.
Threading his way through 16 and 17, can open the DRS again now and head down towards 22, which is basically the penultimate corner on this circuit. All going well for Perez, and the Red Bull is strong on the second half of the lap.
A little bit of traffic in the two Ferraris ahead of them. They should get out of the way. Might actually give him a bit of a distant tow as he runs toward turn 27.
So, Fernando, if we want to have time for a warm-up push next time, we'll have to be quite a quick turnaround. Are you thinking to do the same as this run?
Yeah, it's okay, the same as this one, I think.
Sergio Perez across the line by 4 and very nearly 5/10 of a second. A mighty lap under pressure delivered. Can anyone find an answer to that Red Bull pace in the remaining 6 minutes?
That should do it. That's a big lap from Perez. Matched Alonso in the first sector where the Aston Martins looked so.
Okay, that's provisional pole by 0.4 of a second. Keep up the pace, compose ourselves, we go again.
Is up the road, and finally someone's beaten Verstappen's time from free practice.
Oh, what a daft sentence in an unexpected qualifying session. George Russell at the moment, heading to the front row.
Take damage, kicks it turn 10. I hit the car pretty aggressively.
He wasn't joking.
Just rises and falls on the other end of that curve, and Russell had a big clout out of it on the bottom. He's done a great lap though, George. Up on Lewis Hamilton by 0.4 of a second. He could wind up on the front row. It's all going to depend now on what Alonso can do. Sainz hasn't looked particularly hooked up so far in this entire session. Down in 7th place at the moment. We'll have another new set of tyres to throw at this and see if he can get himself onto the front row. If he can match Leclerc, he will start on the front row. But Leclerc has the grip penalty. And I think there's more to come from Alonso.
I see also Stroll.
Yeah, happy to keep it.
Copy. standout corners. Anything you want with his help?
All right. Copy that.
Copy. Fresh rubber. Go again.
Out by Alex Albon late on in the race, denied him points that day. He's going to start inside the top 10. Where can he get on terms with his teammate and the Mercedes? That's where he'll be aiming, maybe even higher. Stroll has taken a Formula 1 pole position before. Back in the Turkish Grand Prix a couple of years ago. We're focusing on the push lap for Oscar Piastri. Stroll's first sector, not at all bad.
1/10 away from that of Alonso. Fernando, the fastest man through the first sector. The second and third sectors where Perez just stretches his legs on the rest of the field. Piastri taking a lot of curve through 22. The car bottoming out, but actually didn't lose too much drive on the exit of it.
The Australian driver mentored and managed by Mark Webber finds himself with DRS open for the third time this lap. Sparks flying out of the back, one turn to go, having out-qualified his teammate at only the second attempt, something that has been very difficult to do in recent times. Piastri, can he get close to Ocon? No. And a little bit of time scrubbing away in that final sector for McLaren. So we switch to Lance Stroll. We're on board, heading back for home. A line not too far away. Where can the Aston Martin go? He can go up to 5th place, ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Ocon, Sainz, Gasly and Piastri. A good effort if you consider that he's had to shake off the injury of 2 broken wrists and a broken toe.
He's done well. He's done well with it, hasn't he? He did a fantastic job in Bahrain to recover from that and take the Aston Martin to points, and he's within a 10th of Fernando in this. But Alonso's left the pits on another set, as has Ocon, Gasly and Sainz. There's the incentive for them to go and beat Stroll, who is surely done with that flyer.
Yeah, this is it. Final runs. You don't get any better than this. If Ferrari do have engine issues, then putting all of those notches to one side and unleash everything they have, surely that time of Perez is just too far for anyone to challenge. Surely.
Well, we wouldn't have expected just the one Red Bull to be in the session, but it would be a mighty surprise on top of a mighty surprise. If anyone can get near that pace, Sainz the first there to try and improve 8th position. Really frustrating time of it. And that track placement won't improve his mood as he tries to get past. That's George Russell in his path as Sainz was trying to attack.
Is he backed out of it?
The Ferrari's been doing a prep lap the whole way, so I think Sainz was not giving it everything on this lap anyway. So they're doing a lap to condition the tyres, particularly for Sainz. He's coming into the first corner, and there's the Mercedes coming out of the pits. But I don't think he was lighting it all up for a flyer anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure that George must have been aware.
And next car behind will be Sainz at 4 seconds behind Sainz.
On a prep lap or on a push lap?
Sainz on a prep lap.
Alonso not improving in the first sector where he had set the benchmark time. It's the second and third that he needs a step forward. It's 0.03 of a second behind Perez.
His first sector's already good, so he's matched it pretty much, and that is enough to take the fight to Leclerc and Russell. That's surely the job that he's got on at the moment, to try and get himself on the front row. We're going to get a second sector come through any second, and how is he compared to Perez? He's only 1/10.5 away, so he's not absolutely out of this.
In the mix. He's sometimes had the advantage in the corners. The Red Bull very quick on a straight. The efficiency of the Red Bull aero really, really useful. It's a much better lap from Fernando Alonso, who clears the Ferrari as he heads past to the inside of 27. Really tight to the wall.
Yeah, that was him just going past Perez as well. Will Perez even start the lap? Does he need to?
Let's find out. Front row for Fernando Alonso. As it stands, Lance Stroll has gone fastest of anyone in the first sector. It's not over yet. There's applause down there for Aston Martin, who are looking to start their 51st Grand Prix in Formula 1 from the front row of the grid. Alonso delivers on that second lap. Can Stroll maintain this momentum? He's got one Formula 1 pole position as well. It's going well. It's quick stuff from Stroll at the moment. Fastest of anyone in the first sector. And that's the answer. Perez will have to go. The Canadian driver's not too far away, and he's giving it everything. It's a 23. Can he get ahead of his teammate? Can he put any pressure on Sergio Perez? Piastri, whilst we're watching this thrilling attempt by the Canadian driver, who many didn't even think would be taking part in these opening Grand Prix of the year due to his injuries after falling off a bike, finds himself in the mix. Can he knock his teammate off the front row? Checkered flag is out.
Perez has parked his lap, so he's out there on track, but he's not pushing.
Stroll over the line, and it all fell away in the final few corners. Is that an improvement for Gasly? It is from the timing page. Let's see Hamilton across the line. He's done no improvement. And is anyone out there? Can Charles Leclerc look to disrupt things? He gets to the front row. He's got a penalty. He'll drop down, but he's beaten Fernando Alonso to second position. George Russell over the line in fourth, and it's Sergio Perez who's going to start from the front of the field. Let's conclude the lap with Carlos Sainz, though. It is a Red Bull pole, not the one we expected. Carlos Sainz, can he get near his teammate? He can get up to fifth place. Ferrari showing...
Okay, good job, Oscar. Good job. Right, obviously everyone's still got to set lap times, so I'll let you know how we get on. Look after the fuel on the way in. You can drive to the delta negative, but close to zero.
Copy.
It's Sergio Perez on pole position. Second year in a row, he absolutely adores this track.
The competition wasn't there in the end, was it? Red Bull still had the best car.
Well done, mate. That is pole position. Second year in a row. Pole number 2. Well done.
Good job, guys. Well done.
Oh, pole number 2. Well done.
Good job, guys. Well done.
Leclerc kept him honest, a 10.5 away in the final standings, but the competition at the moment is between the Red Bull boys, and one of them was in the fight, the other one wasn't.
Charles Leclerc's lap at the end, 10.5 away.
Well done, guys. Amazing, amazing. Let's go.
In the press, it was a strong performance at the end. Let's hear it.
Well done, guys. Amazing, amazing. Let's go.
We know Fernando has race pace.
Yep.
We saw it last time out, but he had to do it from down in 7th position after the start. He had to fight his way through. He was behind both Mercedes, both Ferraris, and both Red Bulls, and he only got beaten by the Red Bulls at the end. This time he starts on the front row. Perez alongside him. Verstappen surely will show his face at some point in the Grand Prix tomorrow from a best start of 15th, depending on if he has to change any parts as well for the Grand Prix. Alonso beat Perez. Maybe he can take the fight all the way.
You wouldn't count it out. Fantastic stuff all round. There's Charles Leclerc, who did all he could with that penalty looming. Second on the timing page, but it's Fernando Alonso who will start from the front row for the first time since the Canadian Grand Prix. George Russell puts...
Okay, that's P8, I'm afraid. It's 9/10 to Perez.
Once Max Verstappen had exited, can he step forward? The answer was yes. And in a few moments' time, we'll hear more from him. And we'll hear as well with the whole top three, speaking to Khalil.
Checo, pole position again in Jeddah.
That was a very good lap. Good job.
Yeah, honestly, it was. I don't think there was much more.
Really clean, nailing that lap. You know, you really feel the Formula One cars coming alive in this place, and yeah, just maximizing that lap was very important. You know, because with the issue we had into the final run was really important as the track was improving.
You must be happy to hear it was only drive shaft on Max car, nothing else. It was a scare, wasn't it, in the middle of the session?
Sorry about the last lap. But well done.
Yep. Well done, mate. It was a good job. The first lap was good.
Weekend, so hopefully tomorrow we can have both cars up there. Yeah, as you never know with these cars, you know, reliability issues can hit you at any time.
Well, Checo, fantastic. Hopefully tomorrow it will be the one with the win, because points count tomorrow. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Charles Leclerc, P2. You must be happy with that. I know the penalty is there for tomorrow, unfortunately, but you must be happy with the qualifying, how it went.
Happy, yes and no. On one hand, I think it's been a very difficult weekend in terms of pace for us, but I'm very happy about my lap. I think I put everything in it. It was really, really on the limit. On the other hand, Red Bull are in another planet, and we are struggling a little bit. So we need to keep pushing, but that's what we are doing as a team. Tomorrow is not going to be easy. I have a 10 grid places penalty, so we'll be starting a little bit further back, but we'll focus on the race and hopefully come back in the front as quickly as possible.
We can't separate too much from Max because Max was also starting from the back, but the race pace was much better. Yesterday, the long runs, the car looked good on soft, also on medium. You must be looking forward for improvement from Bahrain on race pace. I mean,
yes, the race pace looked quite good, but it's very difficult to compare because in FP2 everybody has a very different program. So we will see, but it seemed a little bit better, but it's not going to be easy because I feel like everybody is very close in the race pace.
well, we wish you all best of luck. Tomorrow is going to be a long race, but I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the fastest street circuit in the world.
Thank you very much.
Fernando Alonso, everyone. I know you are one of the favorite drivers for the crowd here. P3 in the race in Bahrain, and now fantastic qualifying. You must be happy starting third and also beating in front of Mercedes.
Okay, so that's all done, and P7. Nice job.
Good job, guys. How much in front?
Can we just stay negative on that delta, please, on the way in? Negative on the delta. We're going to box now.
Yeah, I just don't know about punctures, so...
Yeah, copy that. Currently, there's no puncture, so we're okay. So just over a 10th in front is Stroll, and then another 100th in front of him is Sainz. Okay, let's keep the pace up, Espen, unless you believe there's something broken.
Yeah, we are confident. I think that the gap, or let's say the long run yesterday was affected a little bit by traffic, but the car felt very strong. Still, I think the strongest point of the car is the long run pace and how we treat the tires. So yeah, it should be better on Sundays than Saturdays. So starting on the first row, it feels very good.
Well, keep enjoying your 2023 season. It has been a fantastic start, and good luck tomorrow.
The top three in the qualifying session. Checking in, going to the admin of the group photo after an unexpected qualifying hour, which saw Sergio Perez take a second career pole position. That's the thing, when the walls are close and it's a night race, the adrenaline is up, but it's Perez who delivered under pressure. Charles Leclerc, philosophical about the position that Ferrari find themselves in, but he delivered with what he had underneath him.
It's a shame he's got the penalty, because he'd absolutely be in that fight as well, I think. The race pace of the Ferrari wasn't strong in Bahrain, but it's looked better this weekend. The degradation is lower. I think the Ferrari pace that Leclerc showed, at least, was very strong. It's half a second up from Sainz, but Sainz will start 4th, and Leclerc will start down in 12th. It's going to be Alonso v Perez. Shout out for Russell as well. Starts 3rd, long way ahead of Lewis Hamilton in this qualifying.
Patrice Evans, presenting former footballer, presenting just the second pole position trophy to Sergio Perez. Had a breakthrough season last year.
I messed up in 22, I got a rear snap.
Yeah, copy that, mate, copy that, mate. That was a purple first sector. So Lance, that's P6, starting P5 with the penalty for Leclerc.
There's,
Good job.
Fernando.
Fernando P3. Yeah, so that's Fernando starting P2 and you starting P5 with Leclerc's penalty. So good job.
Q1 in Bahrain, both make Q3 in Jeddah. Plenty to talk about. Let's take a breath though and confirm the results.
That's P4.
Great job. There were some nice laps. I really enjoyed that. I know we've got some work to do, but that was fun. What a
Second on the timing page, but will take a 10-place drop. That will promote Fernando Alonso, as well as George Russell. Carlos Sainz in 5th, not with the performance of his teammates so far this weekend. Lance Stroll in 6th, ahead of Ocon. Hamilton down in 8th, Piastri and Gasly happy to make Q3 for the first time with their new teams. Hulkenberg was in 11th, ahead of Joe Guan Yu, Kevin Magnussen. qualified by his new teammate, both Grand Prix so far this year. Then Bottas in 14th, Max Verstappen, the major headliner qualifying with that drive shaft failure that put him out and left him 15th. Tsunoda, Albon, De Vries, Norris and Sarge complete the field. Well, my thanks to David Coulthard and Jolyon Palmer for their insights throughout what we promised would be a thrilling and spectacular qualifying hour. It certainly was, and it provided us with a shock. Max Verstappen has to fight his way through tomorrow. Can he get near his teammate? Will it be a Red Bull? Will it be Fernando Alonso taking a first victory since 2013? Things seem very open compared to a few hours ago. Join us tomorrow when Formula One returns.